Hello and welcome to West Wales. If we've not met, my name's Becca and I'm a hand spinner, knitter and newbie weaver, and you're very welcome to my little fibre art space in my home in beautiful North Pembrokeshire in Wales, UK. So today's video, I thought we'd talk a little bit about breed studies. If you've been following along with my recent videos, you'll know I'm planning a spin along, which is going to start on the next video, or the next spinning video, which should be out 20th of November if you're watching this in real time. If you're watching it in a sort of few weeks, few months time, then it'll be the next sort of video in the spinning playlist. And what I'm doing is essentially a breed study. So what is a breed study? Why is it important? How do we do it? A breed study essentially is just where we take, I don't know, more than one, so between one and however many you want, different specific breeds of sheep and spin their fleece. But the really important thing about a breed study is actually to take records and make records for yourself. Okay, I am hopeless at keeping records of my spinning, and I did a breed study when I first learned to spin, but I didn't actually keep any records. And I really wish I had, because I think it would really show my change and improvement in the way that I spin. And also I wouldn't be reinventing the wheel the whole time. So I wouldn't be kind of thinking, okay, how did I spin this? How did it spin up? What type of spin did I do? It's kind of etc, etc. In a little bit, I'm going to show you how I'm planning to record my spins. But really, there is no rules because, you know, as I'm very fond of saying, no spinning police. So you record it how it works for you. I've got some ideas about what I want to do. I mean, it can literally just be a notebook. That's fine. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. But I will show you my plans a little bit later. So I also have this Gotland that I've been spinning up, and I'm just going to put it on a niddy noddy. So I thought that we could talk and I would do this. And I'm on my Ashford Traditional, which is my only wheel. I know lots of people have a flock of wheels. I don't. A couple of reasons really. I love her. She's my favourite wheel I've ever owned. She's only my second wheel I've ever owned. And what's the other reason? I just haven't really got space and I don't have the inclination to do it. I like spinning on her. I don't feel the need to have a different wheel. I may in the future upgrade, and I think if I'm going to do that, then I would get a Joy wheel. Bit of an Ashford fan really. Anyway, back to breed studies. So what are we going to look at in the breed study? I think it's quite useful to actually put your breed study in a list, and I've got mine on the computer and I've done a little Google spreadsheet of all the different breeds, the websites for the breed societies, because all sheep have breed societies, and the Rare Breed Survival Trust. They're a bit of information about the sheep as well, because obviously my list is the rare breeds of the UK. And if you're joining the spin along, I would encourage you to do the rare breeds in your part of the world. So if you happen to live in Sweden, I think it's fairly likely that your rare breeds are going to be a little bit different from mine. Anyway, I really encourage you to do that. So when we're doing the breed study, we've got our list, and then we have to decide what it is that we want to compare. Are we just comparing what they like to spin, or are we comparing what they like to spin in a worsted style or in a woolen style, etc, etc. So there are various things that we can do to do that. So records that we might keep would be our wraps per inch, and I will show you in a minute a little wraps per inch tool when I've finished taking this skein off. We could also, when we've plied, we could measure the angle of the ply. That would be another really good thing to keep a record of. Then we could keep a record of how the fleece came to us. So if we're spinning in the grease, if it is a comb top, if it is a carded bat, you know, how did it come and how did we choose to spin it? Right, so I kind of threw quite a lot of different bits of jargon at you. There you go. That can sit there for the moment. So let's talk about what these look like. If you're new to spinning, it can be a little bit confusing, and I think the main thing people get confused with is that they'll see something advertised, and one of the things they'll see advertised is combed top roving. Well, strictly speaking, a roving is carded, not combed. But because of the way SEOs and which is search engine optimization works and kind of Etsy works, people try to put all the words in that might be related to somebody buying something to spin. And so these words become interchangeable. And really they're not, because they are different products. Now, I put a poll online with the 4 breeds that I bought to say which one did you want to spin first, and the favourite was this lovely, now I think it's actually Manx Loccatan. I said Lothan, but I think it's Loccatan, having had several people correct me in the comments, which I did ask for, so that was fine, because I was sure I wasn't pronouncing it correctly. So Loccatan, or Loccatan, I think it is. Anyway, so we have this, and this will be our first one that we spin up. And this is combed top. Let's try not to completely destroy it. And combed top means that all the fibres have been brushed out so they all lie in alignment. And the way you would normally spin this would be in a worsted style. And I'm going to do a little demonstration in a moment of what worsted style is and then what a woolen style is. Now, the other thing we can do, just to be really, really confusing, is we can spin against type. So quite often I'll say on these videos, I'm doing a semi-worsted spin. And what do I mean by that? Generally, I mean I'm spinning something that has been prepared, a comb top. I'm spinning comb top, but I'm not smoothing it down the way you would a worsted yarn. I'm letting the twist run into my drafting triangle and not smoothing it down, so there's more air in it, which is more of a woolen style of spinning. Stay with me. So that I'm spinning against type. So if you had a carded bat or a rolag and you were spinning in a worsted style, you would be effectively spinning against type. So you might call that a semi-worsted style of spinning. I've got a couple of book recommendations for you that I think would really help you in this process. And that's In Sheep's Clothing, which is by Nola, I haven't got my glasses on, Fournier and Jane Fournier. And this is published quite a long time ago, but it is still in print. And it gives you really good information on all the different breeds that you might come across and what their different properties are really, and sort of recommends how you might want to try and spin. My other book recommendation is Yarn y Texture, which is a bit like architecture but for yarn, and this is by Gillian Morneau, and really this is quite a new book to me, and I have to say I think it's a fantastic book. If you've got over that kind of stage of you're not even spinning anything, so you've done your first few spins and you're starting to get the hang of it, this I think is a bit of a must-have. It's a really good book, and Gillian does talk about the whole spinning against type and says stop calling it semi-worsted, explain exactly what you're doing. So my kind of new motto is I'm going to stop using semi-worsted as a way of describing yarn and say it's comb top spun woolen style, or it's a rolag spun worsted style. I hope that made sense for you. I'm going to have a slurp of coffee, so excuse me. Okay. So the other thing I talked about was wraps per inch. So when we're actually spinning, we might want to measure what I wraps per inches, and we use a yarn gauge to do that. And then once we've plied, we might do wraps per inch again, where we would wrap our yarn around an inch, whatever, a ruler or a yarn gauge or something. Or you can actually get what people generally recommend as the best option is like a dowel, marked off dowel, and rolling it. But if you haven't got one of those, then yarn gauge or just a ruler works really well. The other thing you might want to measure is the angle of the ply, so the twist, and you can get yarn gauges which have got like protractors on them, so you can measure that, or just kind of raid your local school supplies and yeah, get a protractor. And I mean, I think I got mine in Fishguard, and they were sort of like £1 in the pound shop, so they're not very expensive, and just a regular protractor works just fine. You don't need a fancy yarn gauge. As with most things, you don't need a fancy anything. You know, there's always a simple way of doing things. Yeah, so those are the tools that you might need. So I'm going to stop talking and turn the camera around and have a little look at the different things I've been talking about. So let me change this camera angle so you can see a little bit more what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got some Welsh mule comb top, and this is a worsted style of spin. So I'm smoothing down all the fibres, and either you can sort of what they call inchworm it along, so you're doing little short pulls forward, or you can do a pull backwards. But the key thing is that you are smoothing down those fibres, so you're getting quite a dense yarn. Now, I could spin what's called against type, or what quite often is called semi-worsted, but we're not allowed to say semi-worsted anymore, are we? So let's see if I can change without breaking things. So if I let the twist run into the drafting triangle, then you can see I'm getting a different look to the yarn. So, and then we can go back to worsted style. Now, if I want to spin this in a true woolen style, then I need to prepare it differently. So we can see if, so we could, no, you see it doesn't really want to long draw, so we could do that. So again, that would be against type. So I'm going to just make a quick rolag and show you woolen. I've made a quick rolag, and then we are not getting such a consistent yarn. I really am not the world's best spinner of long draw, but you can see the basic technique is that you're not smoothing down those fibres. So we could spin a rolag in a worsted style where we are smoothing down these fibres. So that's perfectly possible to do. But if you've gone to the bother of making a rolag, really you want to be spinning in a woolen style. So you want to be letting that twist into the drafting triangle. And there are definitely better woolen spinners in the world, and as I never bore of saying, if you've got any recommendations that you think would be helpful to people, then put them in the comments below. You know, I am not a spinning teacher, this is not my job, this is my hobby, but I do love sharing it. And I've had some lovely comments from people who are new spinners, and they have said that they find the way I explain things helpful. So I will just carry on trying to be helpful. Okay, so that's what we can do. I have shown this mad book before, which is an altered book and sort of in a junk journal style. And this is how I sort of decided I was going to record my blended spins. And it's just a piece of card, and I've put the fibre on, how it's spun, and then just a bit of information on the back of the card. And I will now show you the way I'm thinking of doing the spin along. So I went to the local book swap and found a novel that was in need of a new home, and I'm going to do another altered book. And this is the prototype. This is not really kind of done in any way. So I've got my knitted up sample and a little sample of the yarn that I've just attached to a card. And this is me thinking out loud. No, thinking and writing. I want to have what fibre it is, what date I've spun it, how I prepped it, the wraps per inch, the needle size I knitted up on. Then I did made this sort of little pocket, which is just leftover bits. There you go. So that's one of my art journaling pages. So leftover bits from art journaling. And this is the invoice that I got. So I might put something like that in, so I could keep a record of where I got the fibre from. And then this will be notes, but obviously it will be, I might well actually design something that I'll include in one of our upcoming newsletters. I'm trying to get the newsletters on a more regular basis. If you're not on the newsletter list, then I will leave a link in the description so you can join, and I will keep you updated in the newsletter with basically what I've bought, where I've bought it from, the spin-alongs, exciting things like that. Yeah, so that's my kind of idea of how I'm going to record my spin-along. Again, as I always say, comments below if you've got any ideas, that the way you want to record a spin-along, the way you do record your spins. I've said it before, I'm not a very technical spinner normally, but I do think when you're doing something like a breed study, it's actually quite important to record them properly. I haven't done it in the past, and I really, really wish I had. I hope you found the video useful, and now you understand a little bit more about breed studies and why we might do them. Now, if you are joining in the spin along, the rare breed spin along, it starts on the 20th of November. And what I mean by that is I will pre-record a video of me spinning this up, and I will show you how I'm doing it, what I found about it, give you some more information about the breed. I then will share it on Instagram as in the finished result, and I would really love it if when you are spinning a rare breed that you share your pictures or your videos on Instagram with the hashtag rare breed spin along. So the next video that's going to be out will be a Sunday something else video, and this week it's going to be a vlog. If you've got particularly strong feelings about what you'd like to see on Sundays, then just let me know in the comments. As ever, I'd love to know what you've been up to, what you're spinning, what you're working on. So again, put those in the comments. And I will see you for the spin along on the 20th of November. So until then, have a wonderful week.